He can't keep getting away with this stuff.
No, Mr. Crivis.
I'm an omnipotent deity. I created the entirety of the dimension of destiny. All the dwarves, the goblins, the elves, most of the beasts.
Yes, Mr. Crivis.
He's just a multi-universal, many-tentacled cosmic horror with a bad Cockney accent. He should be thanking me for letting you two stay here, but what's he doing?
Engaging in a slew of infantile practical jokes. What would drive even the most kind-hearted of all-powerful gods to unspeakable acts of karmic retribution.
No, you heard that.
You were not whispering at the time.
Well, no, I suppose not, but that's the 4th time this week he's put salt in the sugar pot.
You are very pacific about your tea.
Specific.
No.
I mean it, Gainsborough. One more bloody gaff and I'll snap.
Would now be a bad time to mention the industrial strength adhesive on your chair, then.
Gainsborough, be a dear and go get the acetone from the shed, would you?
Yes, Mr. Crivis.
Oh, and a shovel. There will be digging in our future. Kutam ilunu di zuamid. Welcome one and all to the foot of the mountain known colloquially as the Mirror of Destiny. A perpetually frozen precipice to the Antarctic south of the dimension of destiny. The world I created from scratch that we have watched thrive and grow over 38 years so far. Any newcomers to the channel can unclench. Mirrorgleam, which is the name of both this specific fortress and the series of videos as a whole, is part of a civilization hitherto untouched, and as such, knowledge of the 3 prior series is not required. Though maybe do check them out anyway, I hear they're pretty good. As to what the plan is for these specific 7 dwarves, well, that would be telling. But suffice it to say, I'm sure none of my intentions will bear fruit. Not least because it's many degrees below zero and even my plums have sclorped in sympathy. One thing I do plan to keep to for this series is a much closer delving into the minds of our dwarves, and to that end would like to begin by taking a look at Urist Shoot Voices, our soon-to-be expedition leader. Once I've got the early Fortress Matter nonsense straightened out. He's got some competent social skills in leading, along with dabbling skills in all other social matters, which I think he gained by talking to the sheep, based on their efficacy. He's a competent writer, something I hope will translate into a library of some sort, and a critical thinker, musician, and chemist. These disparate traits stem from his time impersonating a bard as cover for his true identity as an infamous bootlegger of the highly dangerous narcotic known as dwarven milk. Mountain Caller, as he's known behind the milk crates, is at Mirrorgleam trying to lay low after he lost his bottle during his last run. Things began to sour when some real curds got in the way, and his rise to the top was foiled. Let's hope his life of crime is truly behind him. The Mirror of Destiny is a harsh place to live. One wrong step and he'll be creamed. Moving on, this is Inod Armor Inks. A rather unfortunate individual as both the only female of the group and happening to bear uncanny resemblance to a young Nick Carter if he was stung by a bee. She is currently moling away as the only dwarf that knows which way up a pickaxe goes, but her skill set will have her acting more usually in a different capacity. A competent miner, yes, but adequate organizer. Don't look directly at her, lest her shining ability blind you. Then, of course, she does have the social skills required of the manager and broker we shall task her with being. Well, somebody needed to be able to outwit the sheep at least. Inod's being here is explainable by the fact that she has very quickly taken a lover. She followed Domas, who we shall get to next, when he had to lie low with Urist. They're a sort of dwarven Bonnie and Clyde, but with aspirations to build a cozy homestead in the snow rather than to go on a masked looping rampage across the dimension of destiny. And here he is, preparing lavish meals with what little supplies the group managed to scrape together before the trip. Domas Roadrain, the cook, a somewhat grand designation given the complete lack of culinary expertise required to produce dwarven milk. He has taken it upon himself to lean into the moniker for Mirrorgleam, though, which is something of a falling knife due to the aforementioned tightness supplies-wise. A competent butcher, I'd rather not get into the details of why that was relevant, and an adequate cutter and setter of gems, these being skills he had back before his fatal meeting with Urist. He's also a dabbler in the gift of the gab, as Snod would put it. Much like Urist, I put this down to the sheep. Well, what with being on the lam, they needed lookout, so the trip here was not overflowing with opportunity to chat. Something that should now be remedied.
Mr. Crevice?
Yes, Geesborough?
Sir Sodford, his sotist your prisk.
Oh, he is he?
Yes. Ist I ustestist it sow too.
Wait. Oh, hiskos. I thank the immortal blackness. Yes, I think he got the picture. A simple warping of reality so that N's are now S's and A's are now I's will play havoc on a creature with so many tentacles.
Yeah. Remind me not to get on your bad side.
Moses Inkglide is next, the first in our second group of dwarves, the ones not directly related to the procurement and distribution of dwarven aphrodisiacs. You see him currently in his main Mirrorgleam position of farmer, but he is a very adequate doctor and will be the single resident sawbones until we gather enough citizens for a small hospital. For now, with the starting fortress all dug out and the majority of workshops placed, he will join the others in the lackluster temple to all gods we shoved in between the dormitory and the dining hall. Moses and our yet-to-be-mentioned Ast and Shem will provide the legitimacy that our erstwhile runners need to lay low. As to their own reasons for joining, Moses at least has always liked the snow. Before we move to Moses' friends, we'll take a look at the last of the milkmen. This here is Adil Glazeposts, a title he earned for himself by being adept at greasing the pole behind him as he climbs. He's a snake in the grass, a pebble in the shoe of society, a hoodwinker and downright dirty dealer. The others don't know it, but it was his adequate record-keeping that led to them being nearly caught back at the mountain home. He'll be taking up the position of tavern keeper eventually, but for now the dwarves have seen fit to allow him to be their brewer. He's got a tongue of solid silver, I'm telling you, though I can see through him like greasy paper. I think they're safe enough while the heat is off, but we'll have to watch him for twitchy movements when we start getting migrants that could be undercover guards. Hard to see what he could add to the mildly alcoholic plum helmet squeezings to make them worse, though. And yes, you saw the beginnings of a dehydration disaster, but it's all fixed now. Adil has jumped too, preparing drinks that'll put hair on our dwarves' palms. And this wasn't an attempted coup, just me banning the dwarves from using plump helmets to make drinks, rather than banning them from meals because we need the seeds. Always get those the wrong way round. And here you can see his social skills. They all read novice, but trust me, this dwarf is slippier than a battered eel at a water park. We'll be watching you, glazed posts.
Phlegm, where is he? Ah, oi, bogbrush breath. What have you done now?
Whatever do you mean, Snodford?
I just got off the phone with my cousin Kesford, which is really strange, because as far as I'm aware, I don't have any aunts or uncles.
That is strange.
It gets weirder. See, it turns out that Kesford doesn't remember having any parents, though she does remember her own aunt, that being my mother.
Very weird.
Oh, give off! Did you erase my mum's sibling from existence as a prank?
You added itching powder to my laundry detergent.
Well, yeah, but that's a spot of harmless fun. Nobody ceases to be.
Maybe not having an aunt will teach you to be less of a bloody nuisance.
Bring her back.
Make me.
Ah!
Dwarf number 6 is Asked Handlebold, our future master of all things that go clang. So far, all he's had to do is burn some of the logs we brought with us into charcoal, just in case we need some metal smelting in a jiffy. Being a straight-laced lawful dwarf, his reasons for making the trek out into the frozen wastes could be considered more interesting, and as such, I think I'll be keeping them between myself and Mr. Handlebold for the time being. A dwarf of many talents, he is a surprisingly good dancer, and we will be utilizing his gazelle-like natural talents to entertain in the future. He's patient and cheerful, if a little austere, with good intuition, so I hope for his sake the milkmen don't draw too much unwanted attention. We're following Inod again, just briefly before we move on to Shem. What you're watching is a test of a rather ingenious way to rid dwarves of their unmet need to acquire an object. I initially made 2 single-tile stockpiles in the dormitory. The one on the left accepts bracelets from the crafts dwarf workshop. The one on the right accepts them from the one on the left. Then the larger one in the dining hall takes them from there. Once the dining hall has a good number of bracelets, I change the left dormitory stockpile from accepting from the workshop to accepting from the dining hall, and it closes the loop. Then we just let the dwarves go round and round and round, picking up and dropping off bracelets until they take a liking to one or two, then ban them from hauling and repeat. A slight issue has occurred where it appears no other dwarf has a chance to get at the task, because Inod is letting the voices in her head run the show. But this might work out a little better. I'll know to check her first when we're a bracelet down and won't need to continuously follow her for months. I ended up following her for months. It was bloody hypnotic. Moving on to Shem, you'll just have to try and ignore Inod. Shem Oakfountain, our carpenter extraordinaire, who's been left twiddling his thumbs as there's more goats than trees on the slopes of the Mirror of Destiny. He is also an adequate mason, though that's a job most dwarves will turn their hand to eventually. His reasons for joining this expedition are sadly a little confused. He has hopes for the future of being a famous bard and kind of bought into Urist's disguise a little too much. Yes, he's the unfortunate linchpin that connects our criminals and more upstanding members in the Lawful 3. Hopefully he isn't too disappointed when Urist completely fails to regale the group with interesting tales and funny anecdotes. Who knows? Maybe it'll give him the push to entertain that he needs. I would hate for this to be a wasted trip for him. Oh, and look, it worked! There was one less bracelet in the loop, and checking Inod, we can see she has in fact picked the best one out to wear. Marvellous! Just 6 more to go. My me, this is going to be tedious. But not quite as tedious as this. I noted we were short of items for trade, which, considering we're also short of food and drink, is a situation that needs rectifying. To that end, I had Domas cut some of the gems we found and set the dwarves the task of encrusting some finished goods, hoping they'd see the limestone figurines Inod has begun to make. This they in fact did, but not before first encrusting this ordinary pigtail rope with bands of cushion smoky quartz cabochons. Mirrorgleam is now in ownership of the fanciest rope this side of the heliotrope walls, the mountain range the Mirror of Destiny is a part of. And that's the setup. Nothing too interesting has happened as of yet, but we've got some good dwarves, and if the caravans don't make it this autumn, we may have to find out if they taste good too. If this is the first episode you've stumbled across, then I would like to welcome you to Crumpet Sounds. You can expect another morsel of barely watchable dad jokes and ancient references in exactly 2 weeks. I still haven't missed a scheduled upload, and it's been almost a year and a half. Madness. To those well and truly sullied now, I say welcome back. Thank you for your patience, and I hope you like the new intro. And as always, thank you all for watching. You make this whole endeavour worthwhile. Anus Eshon, you most wonderful of individuals. Anus Eshon. Hello everyone, John here. I just wanted to add my welcome to Phlegms and give a little backstory to all this for anybody not currently in the know. I created Crumpet Sounds in June last year with aspirations of making it as a big YouTuber, but expectations sane enough to start with my awful laptop mic and only rudimentary knowledge of how to put a video together. I decided against using my own voice for probably obvious reasons, and after a slight false start, created Phlegm Crevice, an amalgamation of the voices I would put on for the wizards when I read Discworld novels to my kids. A deity with a heart of gold, short temper, and wit so dry his breath smells of camels. Very quickly I realised he needed a foil, and Snodford T. Hedgehog was born, bringing his colleague and friend Gainsborough Graham Prosciutto along for the ride. The three began to live together so I could have them interact more often without coming up with reasons as to why an eldritch horror, Snodford, and a rock troll, see another Terry Pratchett influence in Graham, would frequent the house of a god. And that's where you find them now. I've been doing this for 17 months. We're on Series 4 in our world, the Dimension of Destiny, and expecting everybody new to go back and catch up on the lore seemed a little much, so there's the basics. Now, I've only scratched the surface, but the old stuff's still there if you enjoyed this. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you're one of the old guard, look how far we've come. Thank you.
Graham! Phlegm, he's eating the bleeding wall between our rooms.
He's done what?
Until you two make up. No wall.
Well, hang on.
And he threatened to bang our heads together.
Oh, damn. Okay, we'll be good.